Hi, I'm Angie Pontani, the burlesque superstar who has spent the last 20 years shimmying and shaking around the globe. I've performed in showrooms, ballrooms, small rooms, and big rooms, every room except a mushroom. Along the way, I've met some amazing people, and I'd like to introduce them to you. Together, we will pull back the curtain to reveal what really happens behind the glitter, feathers, and tassels. So join me for the bump and grind. In 2001, today's guest started a project fueled by a belief in the emerging internet and the mantra that alternative ideals of beauty deserve equal representation and presentation. And so was born the Suicide Girls. The founder, Missy Suicide, has been entrenched with the growing brand the whole way. From chat rooms to world tours to opening up for Guns N' Roses, the Suicide Girls have broken through to main stages, appeared on television shows, and have amassed millions of followers. I was really excited to sit down to talk with Missy and find out how she did it. How did the vision start? How have the times changed? And even get into the seeming divide between the Suicide Girls and the neo-burlesque movement, which came up at the same time. Please welcome to the Bump and Grind, the founder of the Suicide Girls, Missy Suicide. Missy, thank you so much for joining me on the Bump and Grind today.
Thank you so much for having me.
I am super excited to talk to you because I think Suicide Girls are legend. Like, it's like this larger than life like thing that you started. So that's pretty epic.
Thank you. Yeah, we started in 2001, so we're coming up on our 20-year anniversary.
That's insanity.
It really is.
Completely insane. And so what was the impetus for starting the Suicide Girls? What inspired you to do it?
I was really inspired by the girls that I knew. I thought that the tattooed and pierced girls were some of the most beautiful girls in the world. But they were represented in this, like, really creepy way in photography. Like, you know, it was like, always it was always like they would always be like in this like harsh light and like this sort of like semi BDSM sort of like background always, and it just wasn't a very like it wasn't representative of the girls that I knew, and I wanted to give them the confidence that they were the most beautiful girls. I wanted to share that like being unique and being beautiful are not mutually exclusive. You know, like being unique is being beautiful.
Absolutely. And that was like an important message, I think, at the time that started to come up in a lot of different ways. But you're in the Pacific Northwest, right?
Yes.
So like, what was the scene like there at that time? It was a lot of that alternative kind of like punky.
So in the Pacific Northwest, it was very like, it's always been about like riot girls and like punk rock aesthetic. And girls were much more empowered to dress how they wanted and how like to have like a much more just unique perspective on life. And the scene was just so different. Like I just can't even explain. Like, you would go to a strip club on a Tuesday with your like teacher friend to get a drink after work.
That sounds like fun.
It was not creepy in any way. It was so normalized. Like going to a strip club was so normalized.
Yeah.
And so like just in general, it was just so much easier and so much I don't know. It was
not taboo.
It was
just a thing. That's great, though. I mean, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So are you trying to deliver that message to the world?
Yeah. So I wanted to take a little bit of that, like, sort of normalization of like sexuality and body image and project it onto, you know, share it with the world and connect with people.
And was your first idea to create this like multi-leveled website, or was it like, I'm going to make a zine? Were we still in the zine times?
I'd worked in the internet for a while, like creating different communities and different like like I'd worked for Launch, which was like a music website, and I'd done different website things. And so I knew that I wanted to harness the power of the internet. But at that point, the internet was like this like big bad thing where if you shared any personal details, it was like a serial killer is going to come find you.
For sure.
You know?
My mother told me that.
I know. And now it's like, like you share what you had for breakfast and where you had it, and like everybody knows everything about everybody.
Absolutely.
But back in the day, I really believed in the power of the connectivity of the internet. And I wanted to showcase, like, I wanted to find a place so that people could connect with each other, like-minded folks could be connected. And it was hard at first to convince people that you wouldn't be attacked by a serial killer, you know.
I'm sure.
But the power of the connectivity has proven to be one of the major bonuses of the internet.
Absolutely. So. And you were definitely ahead of the game.
I feel vindicated.
Yeah, well, you should. You should. You were totally right. There's a lot more than killers on the internet. So how did you convince the first batch of suicide girls to kind of jump in? I mean, you didn't know what you could offer them, really, like in terms of payment or what to expect. Like, how did you get the first group?
I mean, it was so the first group were friends of mine, mostly, like girls that I knew. Like Mary was a childhood friend that I grew up with, and Rose was my neighbor, and so a lot of the girls were like friends or friends of friends. And like Portland is what I like to call the largest. It's a perfect place to raise a rebel girl because it's small enough. It's big enough to get into some trouble, but small enough that you're not going to get into too much trouble.
Yeah.
So like the scene was like small enough so that you could like still you knew somebody who knew somebody who
right.
Could,
it wasn't just like you were going in completely blind and an ad in the back of the newspaper, come to my garage, we're going to take some sexy pictures.
I did take an ad out in the newspaper, actually. And I would meet girls at a coffee shop, and just have like open casting calls. It was crazy time, like that I couldn't advertise on the internet, that I had to advertise in like a physical paper.
Yeah, for sure. And did it quickly, people responded, people were into it, they were looking for an outlet? Did you see almost instantly that like this has a lot of gas in its tank?
So I found out. So the first like castings were mainly girls that were my friends and stuff. The first 12 girls like were girls that I knew from around town and stuff. And then check out the ad, and I started to have like casting calls, and maybe like 5 girls would show up for the first one, 10 girls the second one, like 200 girls not 200, but like 20 girls like the third one. And then it was like, I can't have these at coffee shops anymore because the people are gonna know what I'm up to. You know, the
Definitely.
people working there are gonna know what I'm up to.
No, for sure. They get suspicious if they have a line of 200 girls going out the coffee shop door to sit and talk to you,
right? And
not buy coffee.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, okay, I don't know what. So I had to then figure out what to do next and do internet calls and stuff. So at first we had girls just locally in Portland, and then we had girls from like New York and girls from London and girls from all over the place that wanted to be a part of it. And so I had to write up like a photo guide and how they could submit their images and so they could be part of it as well.
Did you turn girls away, or was it kind of like, oh, anybody can join? Like, at what point did you say, like, okay, now we have to get into certain casting or lay out certain parameters for inclusion?
I mean, so like the open casting calls, there were like, girls would be interested and not show up for actual photo shoots and stuff. Of course. But at some point it became there was a bit of a selection process involved, and then we had the selection process for the first like probably 3 or 4 years of the site, where we would just decide if your photos were good enough, or if they warranted set of the day, and the images would come out as a surprise. But it just became overwhelming. So we implemented member review on the site.
Oh, wow.
And so anybody can submit photo sets to the site, and as long as they're like 35 to 60 images that start out clothed and end up fully nude and share bare breasts and bums, then decent quality images, then you can submit them to the site and they'll go up.
That's crazy. That's a lot. That's a lot of content and balancing and organizing a lot of stuff. And this is at a time where, like, what's happening on the internet? There's MySpace, the early 2000s, Yahoo groups. Like, this is very technologically advanced for what was happening at that time. How did you learn to handle all of this content and figuring it out and pay per site and like all these things that people now, I feel like in our industry, are getting forced to do, you were doing in the early 2000s?
Yeah, I mean, it was tough. It was just like, we just kind of adapted and just kind of figured stuff out, because it was like sink or swim. Like, you've got all these I had all these beautiful girls submitting all these wonderful, amazing sets, and like I couldn't purchase them. Like, I just couldn't afford to purchase them all, and even if I did, there wasn't enough hours in the day to like give them their time. So we just we had to adapt and had to figure out some way to give each of them some recognition.
Yeah, and I guess your background, like you had worked with different sites and everything, right? So this definitely had to lend itself. And like, obviously you were very good at marketing and promotion and getting that word out.
Yeah, I mean, so I went to college for sociology and photography, and my work study was building the college's website, very first website. So It was like, everything that I went to school for and studied is things that I actually use every day.
That's fantastic. You really implemented it. College has paid off.
But right? I feel like if you do you can do what you love and like make it work.
Was there any other competition out there at the time that was kind of in the genre that you were, that wasn't like hearkening to what we kind of talked about in the beginning, which I clearly see the image of what you're talking about when you say how girls with tattoos who were edgy or pierced were presented at that time in erotic photography. It was like, yes, it was like they're in a basement with like a light swinging and it's hideous and it's like concrete and it's just, there's nothing warm happening.
Yeah, there's like black lingerie and big boots and stuff, and like that was it. That was the only thing. And I thought, let's take that same girl and put her in her bedroom in her pajamas, and like wake up with her.
Girls with tattoos have bedrooms too. They wear pajamas.
Exactly.
But you were the first to kind of take it into that realm.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to show the girls that I knew that they were beautiful just as they were. Like, they didn't have to dress up in, like put on the body armor, put on like the face makeup, put on the outfit, to be sexy. They could be sexy how they were. And, like exactly how their bodies were. I wanted, that was very important to me to show like women that they could just be themselves and be sexy.
No, absolutely.
And be empowered and be powerful.
Right. And like I said before, I felt like that was a message that was certainly happening and coming out in different ways throughout the country. Like here in New York, the late 90s, the early 2000s are when the burlesque revival starts to kick up, and we see a lot of different body types being represented and people kind of presenting themselves in this way that's, I'm sexy, I'm a beautiful woman, I'm proud, I have confidence, but I might not be what you thought I was going to be. So what point did the Suicide Girls begin to intersect with burlesque? Like, did you know about, I know there was things happening out there at that point in time.
Yeah, so we did we had a night where we would do like, because the girls the concept for the website was to take classic pinup photos and put a modern twist on them, to put a modern edge on them. And classic burlesque goes, hand in hand with pinup, and so we wanted to put a modern edge on it. And so many of the girls were dancers in Portland, just because it was so accepted and so much part of the culture.
Yes.
That they really wanted to express themselves, and we would have we started in probably 6 months after we started the site. There's a club in Portland called Dante's Inferno.
I know Dante's, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we would do one Sunday a month. That was like Suicide Girl Sunday, and we would have just different girls do different performances, and like they would do some really creative, fun, cool things, like themed out for holidays, or just fun, expressive numbers, like. And there was just something so beautiful about them expressing themselves and like sharing their bodies and their creativity and their unique beauty, that we thought it was great. And we ended up taking, I think the first tour was in 2003.
Wow. We
staged like a national tour. It coincided with the first book publication. So it was a totally insane traveling experience.
I can't imagine. Like, how many people did you have on the road?
It was 6 girls, a tour manager, a tour assistant, and then there's an opening band and another van behind them. And it was touring in vans, like staying in hotels.
Yes.
Motels. And it was now when we tour in a bus, and
yes.
It's like completely different.
No, I know. It's nothing like being on the road. It's exhausting. It's insanity. It's never ending.
Yeah. And like somebody has to drive the van, like it's not, so I would fly out with them on Thursdays, fly to whatever city they were in, and do a book reading. So we would have a book reading at like 3:00 in the afternoon, and then we would do the show at like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then get back in get into the hotel, and then leave at like 8:00 the next morning, so we could make the next city by 3 p.m.
That's crazy.
Sometimes it was like driving into a city, like just as and pulling up and just hopping out of the van.
It's
in front of the venue.
And did you perform as well? Did you perform and do the photo sets? Are you I mean, I know you're the Suicide Girl, but did you perform and do your pictures and the whole shebang?
I didn't perform because I'm not the most talented dancer, not the most coordinated when it comes to like movements. But the rest of it, I totally took part in.
When you put together the burlesque shows, did you have a part in kind of curating what the performers were going to do, or was it all on them and just come together? Did you guys have like what would a typical show be like?
It's evolved so much over the years, but in the beginning, I think that I would curate it. I think they would come up with their ideas and like present them like, I want to do a thing based on the chef from South Park, or like, I want to use glitter all over my body, or, and it was like, like, okay, well, you can't do that right before the chef one because it's going to be too messy and everybody's going to fall,
Yes, things we all learn.
yeah, so it was a lot of that at first, and then and just, like, girls wouldn't have ideas, and music has always been a passion of mine, so like finding songs has always been like my jam as far as the burlesque show. My contribution is the soundtrack.
That's a big contribution because it's really important. And so we have to talk about electrical tape because I feel like it's like you should own your own line of it. Like, was this something that just happened organically, like the Suicide Girl electrical tape on the nipples look, or was this a thing? Like,
it was organic. It was just like, because it was easy and like it stuck better than pasties. Like pasties I don't know. I feel like pasty technology has evolved.
Yes, it certainly
recently. Has. But back in the day, like, they would fall off. Like, we had so many girls lose a pasty here and there. Like, they would have electrical tape on underneath after a while because it was, because if you had an accident, it would still be covered. And so at some point they were just like, we're not going to even fuck with these pasties.
Yeah, for sure. No, the electrical tape will not come off. But did you find that it kind of fits the whole kind of
we
concept?
Actually did. Yeah, we actually did a T-shirt with electrical tape X's over the nipples.
Yes.
As our for merch this year. I don't know why we didn't do it sooner, but
did you find, because this is the time, like it's the early 2000s, like burlesque is kicking up all over the country, and you guys are touring. I know I had crossed paths with you guys touring several times out there at that time. Did you feel part of this burlesque scene that was emerging across the country, or do you feel like you guys were kind of your own entity?
I feel like we were a part, like we wanted to be a part of it, but I feel like because like they were, like stripping to, or they were like doing routines to like Marilyn Manson and stuff, and like it wasn't the old timey burlesque, so there was a lot of like blowback, like where people didn't want to accept us. But I do feel like, we were definitely part of like the new burlesque movement.
Yeah, for sure. Did you have like, and I've seen a lot of pictures, and my husband has seen the shows, but I have actually never saw the show. I'm sad to say, but would you have like somebody coming out in a more classical costume or like a glove peel? Is that part of the performance, or could it be, or would you say, no, we don't really want that, it's too like ideal of this?
If we've done a few numbers where there have been like glove peels, or like there's like a fan dance in the new one, but it's like the fans are pot leaves.
Very cute.
So it's like, there's always, it's not really like, we don't really do the traditional movements at all.
Yeah, no, completely. But it has changed too. I do feel in the sense like at this time where burlesque was just finding itself and coming back up in the revival, there was a sense that while it was like anything goes, it also had elements of like, well, this is what burlesque is, which don't necessarily apply, I don't think. And I do feel like over the years too, the burlesque scene in itself has expanded, where now there really is so much diversity in presentation of performance, as well as the performers themselves. That's a good thing. But I don't think that you can really define it or limit it, or, it can be Marilyn Manson.
I mean, it's the art of the tease, right? Like, as long as like, as it's sexy teasing dancing, like it's not, it's all about the reveal. It's not, like whether you do the reveal, I mean, while the girls aren't like peeling gloves, they might be peeling PVC pants,
Which sounds like it'll be very challenging.
Yes. There was there was one that had like zippers all the way around, and so she would peel off her pants.
Oh, wow. That's fun.
Um, yeah. So, I think that it is like there's elements that make something burlesque. It's not that like it's not necessarily, it doesn't have to be just the fans and the like traditional acts. It can be updated acts, but it is about the reveal. It's about like one of our girls does a Link performance from Zelda, and she like does a shimmy with the shield in front of her, and it's that sort of reveal that makes it classical, or makes it burlesque.
Yeah, absolutely. And you got to have a gimmick.
Exactly.
You definitely
gotta have a
hook. So in your shows, do you have, and I was curious about this when I was kind of researching and reading, it's always like, the Black Heart burlesque, show, the Suicide Girls. Do you have headliners and featured performers, or is it more about the collective?
It's more about the collective. I think that the biggest lesson that we learned over the years was that we could have multiple girls that could like fly in and do, and it wouldn't derail the entire show if one of the 6 girls had a family emergency or couldn't, or was feeling ill, or like we could have more than 6 performers trained to do it, and like just rotate in the cast.
Mm-hmm. No, it's a challenge to have a big show like that would rely on everybody 100%, and then you lose one person and the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah, I mean, and that was what we did for the first tour. Like,
yeah,
while we were driving around in the van, we had no backup,
Yeah, well, and the brand, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but the brand is the Suicide Girls, so it's a full experience that you couldn't really revolve around one person, or else that would kind of change that.
Exactly. I mean, we're collective. We're all like, it's, like the closest thing to a sorority that I will ever get. The women are just so supportive of one another, and like every girl that is a Suicide Girl, the first thing that she's going to tell you about, like when you ask, what's your favorite part about being a Suicide Girl? She'll say the friendships that she's made. Because like you can connect with girls around the world that share your interests. Yeah. And it's just pretty remarkable.
Do you find that do you still have some of the girls that started with you in 2001 that are still Suicide Girls and still working it? Nice. Yeah. Do they go out on the road too? Do they tour? Is it mostly the same group of people that you'll take out on the road, or do you shift it up quite a bit?
It shifts. Like the girls that went out on the road in 2003 they're like, like one of them rescues dogs and is content to be, content to be at home. And another one is like an artist. And
plus they were in the van era. They don't want to come back.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, we know what you're about. We're not going to do that again.
No.
But I'm trying to think. They do shift in and out. It just depends. Like, there are girls that have been. One girl from the van days made it through to the bus days.
Nice, good for her. You've done some major tours. So, you started out, you're in the bus, you're rolling around, you guys are getting hugely popular, getting all this attention. You were in like CSI, right?
Yeah. So before we were in CSI, so we were just rolling around in the bus, and then we got the Guns N' Roses tour. And so it goes from like van tour to now we're on a bus with Guns N' Roses. And then they missed some sort of call or something, and they ended up flying in an Axel's private jet.
Wow.
To like a different, that's a
big jump.
Evolution.
So how did the Guns N' Roses tour come to be?
They were looking for an opener, and they they were trying a bunch of different people out, and we were on the slate with Eagles of Death Metal.
Wow. Would you consider that a pivotal moment in the Suicide Girls' trajectory?
Yes. I mean, so that was like, like the first night, like we're out there, and the girls and the tour manager call me, and they're like, there's like little kids in the stadium. Like, we have to like cover up, and like, we don't know how to make this work.
Well, I was going to ask you if you had experienced censorship or blue laws in certain places. Did you have to change the show for every show?
Yeah. So in like, I mean, still in Tennessee, like you can't.
No underboob, no butt cheeks. Yeah.
Yeah, we have to get special underwear for Tennessee. And in Canada, there was a city that we had played like the year before, and then we came back, and they had completely changed all their laws. So they wouldn't let us, like, we'd booked it and like had tickets, like we were opening the doors, and then the cops came in and shut us down.
Yeah. That's crazy when that happens. Do you travel now, like, with, like, spare parts in case you end up in a place that has these rules and regulations that you don't know about, or in case, like, a community board member shows up?
Yeah, so we have the full bottom set of, like, everybody has, like, their thongs and their full bottoms.
So you guys went on the road with Guns N' Roses, but you'd also performed with other, like, big names, right? You did with Queens of the Stone Age, did you?
We did with Queens of the Stone Age, but that was later.
Okay. What do you think? Like, these are huge opportunities, right? And so it is a burlesque show. What do you think the difference is? Because you don't see, like, a typical burlesque show getting picked up for these huge opportunities, for these huge arena-type shows. What do you think the difference was that kind of opened the door for these opportunities for you guys?
I think it was just the website, and, like, I feel like it was the community that was formed around it. I mean, like Dave Grohl was had us in the Probot video.
Wow.
His, like, metal side project, and, like, there's, like, I've got photos of him playing a drum with the Suicide Girl logo on it.
That's
like,
amazing.
It's just like, and then like CSI, and like it's just been crazy to see the evolution of how people have reacted so strongly to the brand.
And what was the reaction like when you went, like, to these, like, the big stadium shows, like, with Guns N' Roses? Were their audience, like, really into it? Was it enthusiasm, and they were just totally behind it?
I mean, there are definitely people that were into it. There are definitely people that were, like, just super, they were just there for Guns N' Roses and not there for anybody else, and just not into it, or people that didn't show up on time to see us, you know. So, but it definitely helped to expand the brand, and to expose us to a crazy huge audience that we would have never been able to see before. They would have never known about us before. And, I feel like we do have, like, a metal audience, because I think partly because of the Guns N' Roses tour, because, like, somebody's aunt or somebody's, like, just somebody saw something and came to the show, and now it's word of mouth, and I feel like it's like the butterfly effect, you know, like, but we're so thankful to Axl and Guns N' Roses for taking us on tour
and the Eagles of death metal. You should be thankful for them too, right?
Yes, I mean, yeah, they're friends too, and like, um, like they've gone on to do crazy, amazing things and had crazy touring experiences, and but and they're all really amazing people, and really great guys, as well. Um, but it's really like the I don't know, the butterfly effect of
Yeah.
like you just you meet one person or see one thing, and then it turns into more things and more things, and like the more exposure that you get, the more it just becomes crazy.
No, and you're so
Like,
smart to have the site for people to go to and connect with and join and become more engaged instead of just saying, "Oh, I'm going to go here and look at their site and now I'm gone." Like you drew them in.
yeah, and I feel like everything leads to different new things. Like the like you're on Real Sex back in the day, and like that somebody saw that, and then you know they wanted to do the movie,
Yeah.
the first tour documentary, and so the filmmaker came and contacted us, and because he'd seen us on Real Sex, and then he worked with us on the movie, and then the movie aired on Showtime, and the first tour aired on Showtime, and the creator of CSI saw it, and it's just like, and then you're on CSI New York on an episode written about us.
That's amazing.
One
thing leading to another.
Yeah. And when we were on tour in Australia, we happened to be in Adelaide the same night that Queens of the Stone Age were in Adelaide. And so we went after our show to their show, and then went to the after party with them, and then met up, and then that turned into the next minute.
It's amazing.
We were playing the Forum on Halloween with them. So it's just been like right place, right time, but also like being
prepared,
bold enough and confident enough, to like.
Absolutely.
Did
you feel like, or did you ever have this experience? So you're playing to this global audience now. You really broke through, I would say, about as mainstream as, pasties and nudity and striptease can get, especially at that time. Did you have to deal with a lot of backlash of like, people talking to you after shows, like maybe if they went to a show where you were opening, or emailing you like, this is, against the feminist movement, or just to kind of anything a lot. I mean, I would imagine, I know most burlesque performers at that time had to deal with a lot of that and a lot of explaining and trying to set it straight. Did you have to deal with that as well?
Yes.
And what would be your response typically?
I mean, it was definitely like a hard time because, like you're out there trying to like promote individuality and female confidence and female empowerment, and women, it was primarily other women that would say, you're not feminist, and you're just exploiting and over sexualizing us.
Yeah.
And it was and you would try to sit and explain and talk to them and say like, but it I don't know, it took a lot of convincing.
Yeah, it's a challenging thing. Did you have like, would you have any like lines or any go-to sentences, or like how would you convince them? I mean, some people can't be convinced. That's a given,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like all of like the pat lines, like the we should be empowered by our bodies. Our bodies are beautiful. We shouldn't be embarrassed by them. Shouldn't be ashamed of our bodies. Like those sorts of things. Like we're sexier. We're better as whole people. Like what's inside and outside shouldn't be, we shouldn't be so separate with them, and all these things. But I don't know. I mean, what would you say? Like, because you have the same sort of.
Yeah, absolutely. I would always just say, like, I think a feminist would be somebody that's doing what they want to do under their own control and under, my own prerogative. And this is what I would like to do. And therefore, I am living out my feminist dream. I would always just say, I'm doing what I want to do. It's my body to do what I would like to do with as I wish. And I think that's really the core of feminism, is having the choice to make your own choices and execute them as you see fit, So that was kind of what I would always try to say. But certain people, I think, just can't be convinced. And especially, I do think that the time has changed, and that was a different time as well. And the idea of feminism in the early 2000s was much different and had kind of stricter confines on it than where we are right now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so like the pinnacle of like my feminist, because I had been, like is like to your point, like you could say that it was what you wanted to do, but for me, like everybody was like, you're exploiting these women, you're doing these things, you're like, so it wasn't so much that it was their,
right,
like,
because you're kind of like the agent too, in a sense. You're the agent, you're the producer, you're the creator.
Yeah, and so it was. I took a lot of heat, in that sense. But I was asked to speak at a feminist studies class at UCLA, and I was like not going to do it. But I was 6 months pregnant at the time, or 7 months pregnant, so I was like pretty big. And my business partner was like, "Now is the time. They can't attack a pregnant lady. Go!" And so,
good point.
So it was 2007, and I went, and like everybody was so nice to me.
Did you feel like you were going to walk into a setup? Were you nervous that you were kind of being set up?
I was so nervous. Yeah, I was so nervous. I was like, they're gonna like just totally like it's gonna be everything that I've heard for like the past decade. People are gonna be miserable and mean, and like set me up, and like I'm just gonna have to like curl up in a ball and like just take all this like negativity. But when I showed up, everybody was so nice and so understanding, and like they made my arguments for me, and like it was really incredible.
You can't beat that.
It was like a beautiful experience. Yeah. And then I was like, wait, women do start, like, they're starting to get it. That's when I like knew that like that things were changing, and that the tide was turning.
No, absolutely. Well, and I do think that burlesque has had a good hand in helping to turn that tide over the years. I mean, I think it evolved out of that kind of restrained view of feminism and accepting your sexuality and being empowered by your sexuality and putting it on parade and, rejoicing in your high heels and your lipstick and shimmying your boobs around. It's fun.
Yeah, there's no reason why you shouldn't feel beautiful and empowered, and like when I look good, I feel good, and like I shouldn't be embarrassed by that. Like, like that should be something that I take pride in. My outside is just a reflection of what's going on inside of me, and so
and owning your sexuality, right? Which I feel like was one of the drivers, because it's like, well, let's own the sexuality of this typically alternative looking girl and put her in an environment that is more than just what somebody else, some creepy photographer in a basement thinks it would be.
Yeah, and it was, like the women should, they should feel comfortable. Like sex is such an integral part of being a human, like why should women feel ashamed or embarrassed, or like that their needs shouldn't be first,
mm-hmm.
Like
No, absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely. Do you ever, I want to just talk about too, because obviously this is a burlesque podcast and your show is a burlesque show, and a lot of our listeners are burlesque obsessed. Do you ever think to have like, oh, you know what, I'm going to reach out to some, performers who may be in the traditional scene of burlesque and say, oh, maybe we'll incorporate them into the show? Have you ever thought to do something like that, or to try to open it up and kind of break down the wall? Because I do think there is a wall between like the Suicide Girls and the burlesque scene.
yeah, so we have, I think, not, I think last tour and for the past like 4 or 5 tours, we've had local burlesque acts open for us.
Oh, that's great.
And given them the opportunity to open for us. So that way, because our show is choreographed and it's a produced entity, we can't have like just different interruptions, but we could have them open. So, and that gives them the opportunity to do their thing too. We don't want them to necessarily have to adapt to us. They can do their own thing.
Well, and it gives them opportunity, I guess, too, to be exposed to your audience, which, do you think your audience is different than a typical kind of neo-burlesque audience?
I do. I think that our audience is, it's a lot of people that this is their first burlesque show. I feel like they saw something, or they heard the brand, or there's some people that show up at our show and they don't even know what to expect,
for sure.
But, I think our audience is really, made up of like the beautiful community, beautiful balance of community that we have on the site.
So there's like, I feel like in burlesque, one of the things that people love about it is the feeling of attainability and the feeling of anyone can do this. I can just jump on stage. Different body types are being represented, different styles. It can be edgy, it can be punky, it can be glam, it could be whatever. Is this something that you strive to represent within the shows when you put them together?
Yeah. And like at the end of our show, we have a dance party where we call up all the girls in the audience to come up and just dance on stage with us and just put it all out there and do their own thing. And it's an amazingly fun part of the show. And actually, one of our hosts, she was an audience member in New York, and she came on stage during the dance party and like won the contest and like had a great time. And it made such an impact on her that she came out to LA to audition, and she made the show, and she's hosted with us and toured for like 6 years with us, and I think it's since 2014.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you had that effect of where there's people who come to see the show in the audience and they love it so much, and then they themselves want to become a Suicide Girl or want to get into the show or want to get started in burlesque, that it kind of breaks down that door a bit.
Yeah, I think that it shows them like it's great exposure to the community and to like the ethos of the site and like the ethos of the brand. You can't ask for like a more immersive experience.
No, absolutely.
Than coming to the show.
It's the best thing. It's the best advertising you can do. And do you find that it's harder to shock the audiences today? Because I know, in 2001 it was a different market, especially for burlesque. Like, I remember trying to book tours at that time, which were much in the same way of like, okay, we're going to rent a couple of minivans and hit the road and go through the Midwest and go through all these towns. And I would call at the club, because this is when you would call the club and ask to speak to their booking agent and say, hey, I've got this show, I want to come through. And then I would just say the word burlesque and they would be like, oh no, what's that? You should, call, Stripper World down the street. Like, did you experience that as well? Because you guys toured through the Midwest and a lot of places like that. So you kind of had to break down that door.
Yeah, I mean, we toured the whole country, and like uh it was tough to book at first. But I feel like uh it was just taking that, like, I think that the first tour went out at the same time that the Real Sex episode aired.
Mm.
And so it like gave a little glimpse into the world a little bit more, and like people had seen it or had heard of it because of that, or because of the website, or because of the book was out at the same time as well.
Oh, wow.
And so we were doing books tours and like book signings in most major cities. So if like Quimby's bookstore in Chicago is booking us, then
It's got to be
empty
okay.
bottle was more likely to
It
the
helps.
empty bottle is more likely to give us some, take our call.
No, for sure. But the challenges of that time, like of being new, was also, I feel like, a bonus, because then you could go into the clubs and it's like that shock value. Because I feel like that was something at that time, like coming from a more classical burlesque point of view, that the Suicide Girls, like, it was a bit more shocking. I would just think of it as like more shocking, but that shock value had to play in your favor at that time, I would imagine, with the audiences. Is it hard to keep that fresh?
I think like now our shock value is like people, because right now most of our numbers are pop culture themed. So I think that the shock value has turned into like seeing what fandom we're going to
Right. It's relatable.
to attack next, and
I love that.
Yeah, and like what song we've attached to their fandom and how it fits and all of that.
I can't even believe I forgot to ask you this, but you talk about shocking, you talk about edgy. It's like, most burlesque shows, it's like a wink and a smile. You hear the Suicide Girl and it's like a wink and I'll stab you in the back. It's like the name Suicide Girl has an aggression to it. I think that right out the gate is a bit different. Where does that come from?
So the name Suicide Girls comes from a Chuck Palahniuk book, and he's the one that wrote Fight Club. And he's from Portland, and in his book Survivor, he called the girls that hung out in Pioneer Square Suicide Girls. And it resonated to me on a couple different levels, because, like, to be a suicide girl, you had to commit social suicide by choosing not to fit in to the crowd, to go your own way, to like, you're not good. At the time, like, it was much more like mean girl culture, like you had to be like either stick thin Kate Moss or like curvy silicone enhanced Pamela Anderson. Like there was no really in between, and like everybody was like shopping at the Gap, and like like all had like everybody had like a uniform, and so to commit social suicide was a more tangible act, and it was also just something that like your grandmother was never going to be into. Like your grandma was never going to say like, oh, look at the Suicide Girls. But
I'm sure there's some grandmoms out there now that like the Suicide Girls.
I know, I was like, no. Yeah, but at the time, like, it was something that was slightly shocking.
Did you have, just because you're talking about like silicone and the either stick thin or the curvy silicone enhanced look, did you have that
Only
in
blonde,
your show?
though.
Yes, you have to be blonde. Or were you like, we're not doing that, there's no fake boobs? Did you ever have, because I know some burlesque shows had in that time, were like, we don't want fake boobs, we don't want any unnatural enhancements in our show. Did you ever have a stance on that?
We saw it as like a body modification. Like we have piercings, we have tattoos. Sure. We, like women have like, like we have girls with implants, like horn implants. Like you can't differentiate one implant from the other.
No, absolutely.
So Yes, we never discriminated in that way. Like people can use their bodies to express themselves however they want to.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever get any backlash on going back to the Suicide Girls, on the name Suicide Girl? Did people say, like, what is it? It's confusing me. I don't understand. Call a helpline. Like, was there any?
Yes. We still to this day get people that are like, what? You're so beautiful. Why do you want to commit suicide?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it's like, yeah. But it's, like, but, I think people are more accepting of, like, they understand what the name means now because it's said it so many times, like, and committing social suicide does, like, it's something that, like, once people understand it, they're like, oh, yeah.
It's the irony, and the irony is at the heart of burlesque, whether it's in a boa and elbow-length opera gloves or electrical tape.
We're big fans of the traditional burlesque. Like, we have a few girls that are traditional burlesque performers that have come through the site or the community, or I think there's a couple girls that do traditional burlesque now. They've gone off tour with us, but we're big fans.
I think that, because I do remember, and I remember people being like, well, the Suicide Girls aren't burlesque, but I also had people say that about my sister's troupe that we had because we didn't strip in the beginning when we were in the Pontani sisters, and they said, well, you have to strip if you want to be burlesque, and you have to twirl your pasties if you want to be burlesque, and you have to have a fan dance if you want to be burlesque, and you have to have all these elements. And I think, what maybe one person may like or may not like is totally irrelevant to the situation. That I don't think you can really define burlesque by a uniform or a style of performance, especially now.
I feel like society was so much more limiting back then, like, whether it was like feminist ideals, or you have to be this to be burlesque, or you have to be this to be like, you have to listen to this type of music, or you have to like there were so many definitions, so many, like, we had to fit within these boxes. And now life is just so much more free. Like, I don't know if I even like take time to recognize how, like, just how much easier things are, that you can breathe, that, like, you don't have these restrictions put on you. Like,
what do you think that connectivity is about, or the loosening of these kinds of restrictions, of labeling and this and that? I know it's a giant question, so we can just refer to it in our entertainment sphere.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like society has loosened up. I feel like the internet has really played a big part in that because, we carry around the world's knowledge in our pockets now. And it's really hard to be constrained by being one thing when there's, like, exposure to the entire world sphere of what is beautiful and what is popular and what is culture,
Yeah.
And, like, you can identify with, like, you can find the most niche, like, people around, like, if there's only 3 of you around the world, you can all find each other.
Yeah.
Like, it's really an amazing thing now.
No, absolutely. And I feel like too, in the beginning, like going back to those early years when burlesque was just beginning to be defined and just beginning to get talked about, and these shows are being referred to as burlesque shows, and this is a burlesque person, and this is, everybody was kind of clawing to be the definition in a sense, or to embody it, or to either hold on to the old original definition or their ideal from the 40s and the 50s and say, this is it, this is it. But then, like, as you said, as social media and time expands and the scene expands and you see how much there is actually going on, it's just like, I feel like burlesque is a giant umbrella that covers so many different things.
Yeah, it's the art of feeling empowered on stage, like, and performing and just being sexy. And, like, sexy isn't a bad word, like, it's something that makes you feel good, and you should feel good, like, I don't know. I feel like it is so encompassing. Like, there's just so much.
Oh, absolutely.
Whether there's just so many cultures that it touches, and like so much history, so much.
What's next
Indeed.
for you after the pandemic?
It's so hard to say because like we had all these plans for like, international tours, and I was like, personally, I was going to go on a tour of South America and like have parties with all the suicide girls, in like the local suicide girls in South America, and everything got canceled. And so hopefully it's so hard to like make future plans like in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah, it's hard and often worthless because you make them and then find out they're actually not going to happen.
Right? Like I feel like we rescheduled our Canadian tour like 3 times.
Yeah. No, completely. But you'll get back on the road.
Yeah, we'll get back out on the road. We'll figure something out. We'll be entertaining people. We have plans to do international tours. We'd love to tour internationally more. We had Europe lined up, and South America and Mexico, and we will see you soon. As soon as the world rights itself, we will be out there.
Good. Have you guys taken a turn to doing more digital stuff, or you already have enough digital content? You've already, you're fine. Are you guys doing any live shows online or anything like that?
We started doing some like we have this thing called SGTV, where we have like live streams that happen on a regular basis on our site, and we also have we did like events, like we did SG Fest, where we had all the girls who are musical performers do different live streams at different times throughout a weekend, so that way they'd have like they'd either DJ or sing or perform comedy or do whatever it is that they performed. And we're preparing to do we're gonna have SG Fit Fest in January, where we're gonna have like any of the girls that are fitness enthusiasts or like wellness professionals or wellness people do live streams, like whether it's healthy cooking or doing a yoga class with Infernum, or so girls from around the world are going to have different times. I think the weekend of the 13th, 14th of January. Let me just check the calendar really quick. The 15th, 16th, and 17th of January.
Okay, that's great. So you're well poised to take it into the digital content realm completely for this period of time. That's exciting. And you still have the same level of enthusiasm for it as you did when you started?
I do. I love it. I love being a part of it because I love it's kind of like my own Willy Wonka factory where if I dream it up.
And the message still resonates. The message still resonates, even though things have changed in the world and in representation. You feel the message still resonates.
Yeah, I mean, I still get emails from women around the world that say that I've changed their lives. I can't personally deal with the enormity of that. It's just the best thing ever to know that you've made an impact on people close to you, people far away from you, people in the world, that you've been able to put a message out that has resonated with people.
No, that's amazing. Missy, thank you so much for joining me today on the Bump and Grind. I'm so happy to have the chance to speak with you. Thank you for listening in to the Bump and Grind as we swim through the glitter ocean, exploring all the aspects of the art we love, burlesque. You can follow today's guest on Instagram at Missy Suicide. And you know where to find me at Angie Pontani. And don't forget, show us love by subscribing to the podcast. Follow it, like it, leave that review. Call your mom, call your cousin, call your friends. Tell them, hey, listen to this. And share it on your social media. Let the world know that you love the Bump and Grind.
This has been a Giant Panda King production. You can find us at giantpandaking.com and on Instagram at giantpandaking.